and Jack Brewer. Jack, thank you so much for joining the Pulse. What are your thoughts on what President Trump had to say? Move Department of Education, give it back to the states. We've seen a lot of waste, fraud, and corruption being exposed at the Department of Education. What are your thoughts?
I agree with him. I think that the Department of Education has been a complete waste in a lot of ways. I mean, when you start to look at our failing public school systems all around the country, you start to look at some of the things that our kids are being indoctrinated with. You know, if this was a business, you would have closed it down. If this was a business, you would have fired the CEO and the executives and everyone that's running it. Our education system in America is failing, and it's failing our children. And this is not a game. This is not something that we should play with. And just because we did things one way 20, 30, 40 years ago don't mean that we continue to do those things the same way. I mean, David, I go to schools. I go to public schools, and I go see the children. And what we're producing out of our public schools should be an embarrassment to all Americans. We have entire schools that can't read and write at grade level. We have entire schools that are not proficient in math. I mean, entire schools. And so you have neighborhoods and communities that are producing kids that are going to end up either in jail or prison or living on welfare. And that's just not the American dream. President Trump has to do something that's bold, something that will last, something that will be impactful. And I agree with him. These decisions should be left up to the states. The federal government should be there to keep the states in line, make sure they don't indoctrinate our kids, make sure that they actually teach them reading, writing, math, and don't go into this woke ideology and be the government and not be the controller of woke agendas. And so the education system needs to be fixed. If we're going to have a strong country, we need a strong education system.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And Jack, I know you're working on a bill in Florida to give mental health treatment to repeat criminal offenders. Tell us about that.
So we're working hard here in Florida. We've expanded our program, David. Now we're in 20 facilities. Our plan this year is to reach 30 facilities across the state of Florida, where we have the Jack Brewer Foundation programs helping to empower fathers. We're also starting our behavioral health programs inside of these prisons and jails, giving men actually rehabilitation. You know, so many of these men that are locked up behind bars have substance use disorders. They have mental health issues. And, you know, when you have incarceration, when you're locked up in prison for 5, 10, 15 years, you have PTSD. But the problem is the reason why the national recidivism numbers are 46, 47% of men and women that get out of prison come back. In some states, it's up to 70% of men and women who leave prison and jail who come back. The reason those numbers are so high is because no one's treating that PTSD. No one's getting to that root cause. And when they're there, the majority of the time, they're not being programmed. And so we use faith-based programs. We bring in the Word of God. We let the Bible go and soften these men's hearts. And bring them to Jesus Christ, and it's working. And so we hope that our faith-based behavioral health treatment programs at Jack Brewer Behavioral Health will help so many men and women who are incarcerated. And the last thing I'll say, David, is we have to remember over 90% of people in prison are coming out. They're going to be our neighbors. They're going back into our communities. What type of neighbors do we want to produce? Do we want to spend $30,000, $40,000 per inmate to lock someone up and not rehabilitate them? It doesn't make sense. And so we're taking a stand for that across Florida and the nation.
I love it. I love your heart and your passion. I wish so many others, especially that come out of a successful professional athletic career like you did from the NFL, did the same thing. Jack Brewer, God bless you, my brother. Thank you for joining the Post tonight. Appreciate you.
God bless you, David. We look forward to you coming to see us here in Florida.
I will, absolutely.